Chelsea transfer update, Garnacho and Simons deals hit major roadblocks. Picture this, you wake up one morning thinking Chelsea are about to sign one of the Premier League's most exciting young wingers. By evening, everything has changed. Welcome to the wild world of summer transfers, where one injury can flip the entire transfer market upside down. That's exactly what's happening right now with Alejandro Garnacho and Chelsea. What started as a promising pursuit of the Manchester United winger has taken a dramatic turn. But don't worry, we're here to break down everything you need to know about this transfer saga and what it means for our beloved Blues. The Garnacho story, from target to maybe not. Let's start with the basics. Who is Alejandro Garnacho and why were Chelsea so interested in him? The 21-year-old Argentine winger has been making waves at Manchester United. He's quick, he's skillful, and he's got that spark that can change games in an instant. For a young player, he's already shown he can handle the pressure of playing for one of the biggest clubs in England. But here's where things get interesting. After Manchester United's disappointing loss to Tottenham in the Europa League final, something changed. Ruben Amorim, United's manager, had a conversation with Garnacho that would shake up the transfer market. What did Amorim tell him? Simple, you can leave if you want to. Now, imagine being a 21-year-old player hearing those words from your manager. It's not exactly the vote of confidence you'd hope for, is it? Garnacho wasn't alone either. He was apparently one of 5 players who asked United if they could leave this summer. That's when Chelsea's interest really picked up steam. Why Chelsea wanted Garnacho? Enzo Maresca has been clear about one thing since taking over at Chelsea: he wants to strengthen the team's attacking options. And when you look at what Garnacho brings to the table, it's easy to see why he caught Chelsea's eye. First, there's his pace. In today's Premier League, having players who can stretch the defense and create space is crucial. Garnacho has that ability to beat defenders one-on-one and create chances out of nothing. Second, he's still young with room to grow. At 21, he's got his best years ahead of him. For a club like Chelsea that's building for the future, that's exactly the type of player you want to bring in. Third, he knows the Premier League already. There's no adaptation period needed, no wondering if he can handle the physicality or pace of English football. He's already proven himself at this level. The fact that he has 3 years left on his contract at Old Trafford also means he wouldn't be a short-term fix. Chelsea would be getting a player who could contribute for years to come. The training ground drama. But the Garnacho story gets even more interesting when you look at what happened after that conversation with Amorim. Think about this, you're a professional footballer, and suddenly you're not invited on the pre-season tour with your teammates. That's exactly what happened to Garnacho. While his United teammates were flying off to the United States for their pre-season games, he was left behind. When the team returned to their training ground at Carrington, things didn't get better for Garnacho. Instead of training with the main squad, he was made to train separately. Can you imagine how that must have felt? This kind of treatment usually sends one clear message: the club is ready to sell, and they're making sure everyone knows it. For Chelsea fans, this looked like good news. If United were clearly pushing Garnacho toward the exit, surely that meant a deal would be easier to complete? But football transfers are never that simple. The Colwill injury changes everything. Just when it looked like the Garnacho deal might be moving forward, disaster struck. Not for Garnacho, but for Chelsea. Levi Colwill, one of Chelsea's most important defenders, suffered an anterior cruciate ligament injury. For those who don't know, an ACL injury is about as serious as it gets for a footballer. It usually means months on the sidelines, sometimes even a full season. Enzo Maresca didn't try to hide how big a blow this was for the team. Speaking after Chelsea's friendly win over Bayer Leverkusen, he was clear about the impact: we will miss him. It's a priority because Levi is a fantastic player. What we achieved last season is because of him. Now, here's where it gets interesting for the Garnacho situation. Maresca went on to say that strengthening in defense is now a priority. And when a manager says defense is a priority, what do you think happens to attacking signings? They get pushed down the list. What this means for Chelsea's transfer plans. So where does this leave Chelsea in the Garnacho deal? The harsh reality is that football clubs have budgets. Even a club like Chelsea can't just sign everyone they want without making choices. When Colwill got injured, those choices became a lot clearer. Chelsea now need to find a centre-back who can step into Colwill's shoes. That's not easy. Colwill isn't just any defender, he's a player who can defend, pass the ball out from the back, and contribute to the team's overall play. Finding someone with those qualities won't be cheap. This is why the Garnacho deal has hit a roadblock. It's not that Chelsea don't want him anymore. It's that they have bigger priorities right now. Think about it from a practical standpoint. What's more important for Chelsea's chances this season? Signing an attacking player when they already have options in those positions, or making sure they have enough quality defenders to compete? The answer is pretty obvious. The Xavi Simons puzzle, another Chelsea target in limbo. But wait, there's more to Chelsea's summer transfer story. While everyone's been talking about Garnacho, another name has been floating around Stamford Bridge: Xavi Simons. Who is Xavi Simons? If you haven't been following his journey, you're in for a treat. The 22-year-old attacking midfielder is one of those players who makes you sit up and pay attention every time he gets the ball. Simons isn't your typical midfielder. He's got that rare combination of technical skill and vision that can unlock even the most stubborn defenses. Think of him as the kind of player who can thread a pass through the eye of a needle or pick out a teammate with a ball that seems impossible to play. His journey to this point has been interesting too. After making his mark in various leagues, he ended up at RB Leipzig, where he's been showing everyone just how good he can be. The German club knows talent when they see it, and they've seen plenty in Simons. So why have Chelsea been interested? It's simple really. Maresca wants players who can create chances and make things happen in the final third. Simons fits that description perfectly. The Leipzig connection. Here's where things get really interesting with the Simons situation. RB Leipzig aren't just any club, they're known for developing young talent and then selling them on for big profits. It's their business model, and it's worked pretty well for them over the years. When a player like Simons starts getting linked with moves away from Leipzig, you usually expect the German club to be open to negotiations. After all, they've done similar deals before. But football doesn't always follow the script, does it? Just when it looked like Simons might be on his way out of Leipzig, something changed. Despite missing training earlier in the week, which usually suggests a player might be close to leaving, he was suddenly back in the squad. Not only was he back, but he was named in Leipzig's traveling squad for their final pre-season friendly against RC Lens. That's not the kind of thing that happens when a player is about to join another club. What this means for Chelsea. For Chelsea fans, this development with Simons is another reminder of how unpredictable the transfer market can be. One minute you think a deal is progressing nicely, the next minute the player is back training with his current team like nothing happened. But here's the thing. Just because Simons is in Leipzig's squad doesn't mean the Chelsea interest has completely disappeared. Transfer deals can drag on right until the final days of the window. Players have been known to travel with their teams and then complete moves just days later. The question for Chelsea is whether Simons is still a priority given everything else that's happening with their transfer business. With the focus shifting to defense because of Colwill's injury, attacking midfielders might not be at the top of Maresca's shopping list right now. The numbers game. Let's talk about the financial side of things for a moment. Transfers aren't just about wanting a player, they're about whether you can afford them and whether it makes sense for your squad. Reports have suggested that any deal for Simons would involve significant money. When you're already looking at spending big on a centre-back to replace Colwill, and potentially still interested in players like Garnacho, the numbers start to add up quickly. This is where football clubs have to make tough choices. Do you spread your budget across multiple signings, or do you focus on one or two key areas and really strengthen them properly? For Chelsea, it looks like the defensive priority might be winning out over adding more attacking options. That's probably the right call from a tactical standpoint, but it does mean missing out on some exciting players. The Simons setback in context. The Simons situation is actually a perfect example of why transfer windows can be so frustrating for fans. You hear about interest in a player, you start imagining them in your team's shirt, and then suddenly they're back with their current club acting like nothing happened. But that's just how modern football works. Clubs are constantly exploring options, testing the waters, and seeing what deals might be possible. Not every inquiry turns into a serious bid, and not every serious bid turns into a completed transfer. For Leipzig's part, keeping Simons might actually be the smart move. He's a talented player who can help them in their own competitions this season. Why sell him unless they get an offer that's too good to refuse? What could still happen? Just because Simons is currently with Leipzig's squad doesn't mean the story is over. Transfer windows have a way of coming alive in the final weeks, and players who seem certain to stay can suddenly find themselves on the move. Chelsea might still come back with an improved offer if they can sort out their other business first. Or another club might jump in with an offer that changes everything. That's the beauty and frustration of transfer windows. You never really know what's going to happen until the deadline passes. Manchester United's other business. While we're focused on how this affects Chelsea, it's worth noting what's happening at Manchester United too. They're not just letting players leave, they're also trying to bring new ones in. Benjamin Sesko, the 22-year-old striker from RB Leipzig, appears to be heading to Old Trafford. Reports suggest United have agreed a deal worth around £66 million plus add-ons for the Slovenian striker. Interestingly, while Simons was included in Leipzig's squad for their friendly, Sesko was left out. That usually means one thing in the transfer world: the deal is almost done. This shows that while United might be willing to let Garnacho go, they're not standing still. They're actively trying to rebuild their squad, and Sesko could be a key part of that. What Amorim really thinks about Garnacho. Despite all the drama around Garnacho's situation, Ruben Amorim hasn't been entirely negative about the player. In fact, he's described Garnacho as a talented boy who wants a different thing with a different leadership. What does that mean exactly? It suggests that Garnacho isn't a bad player or a troublemaker. He's just looking for something different from what United can offer him right now. Maybe he wants more playing time. Maybe he wants to work under a different style of management. Maybe he just wants a fresh start somewhere new. The fact that Amorim acknowledges his talent while also being willing to let him go shows this isn't personal. It's just business, the kind of tough decisions that football managers have to make. The bigger picture for Chelsea. So where does all this leave Chelsea as they prepare for the new season? First, it shows that Maresca and the club are thinking practically about their transfer business. When priorities change, they're willing to adjust their plans accordingly. That's actually a good sign. It shows they're not just signing players for the sake of it. Second, it highlights how important squad depth is in modern football. One injury to a key player like Colwill can completely change a club's transfer strategy. Having backup plans and being flexible is crucial. Third, it reminds us that the transfer window is far from over. Just because the Garnacho deal looks unlikely now doesn't mean Chelsea won't find other ways to strengthen their squad. What happens next? As we head into the final weeks of the transfer window, there are still plenty of questions to be answered. Will Chelsea find the centre-back they need to replace Colwill? Will they still pursue Garnacho if they can solve their defensive issues? Will other attacking targets emerge? For Garnacho himself, the situation is equally uncertain. Will he stay at United and try to fight for his place? Will another club come in with an offer that's too good to refuse? The transfer window has a way of surprising everyone, so don't be shocked if there are more twists to come in this story. Looking ahead. While missing out on Garnacho might be disappointing for some Chelsea fans, it's worth remembering that the club already has plenty of attacking talent. The focus on defense might actually be the smarter move in the long run. Building a strong foundation at the back has always been important for successful teams. If Chelsea can find the right centre-back to cover for Colwill's absence, they'll be in a much better position to compete on all fronts this season. As for Garnacho, his time will come. Whether it's at United, Chelsea, or somewhere else entirely, a player with his talent will find the right opportunity eventually. The transfer market never sleeps, and neither do the rumours and speculation that come with it. But one thing's for sure, it's never boring being a football fan during the summer transfer window. What do you think about Chelsea's change in priorities? Should they stick with their plan to strengthen in defense, or do you think they should still try to bring in Garnacho as well? Let us know in the comments below. The beautiful game continues to surprise us all, and that's exactly why we love it.